Well, hello and welcome back to Sam Explains the World. I'm your host, Samantha Bremenkamp, and on this episode, we are going to be dealing with pests, those super annoying little bugs or little critters that come into the garden that you've worked super hard for, that start to eat things and make you very sad. So, I'm going to help you with some suggestions, some methods of dealing safely with pests that won't really interrupt your life or harm your puppies, your outdoor cats, unless you want to, just kidding, or little babies, or yourself. There's some great methods that work really well, and I'll take you through it. So sit back, relax, and thank you so much for coming to Sam Explains the World Pest Control Edition. Do you guys remember when I was doing that fun stuff with the garlic? Well, when I was grocery shopping, I noticed that two giant things of garlic were sprouted. So I spoke to the manager and got them at a huge discount. And here they are. Pest Control 101. This smells super garlicky, no matter how many times I rinse out the water and change it up. But these buttes are growing roots, and I will soon be plopping them into every garden bed that has vegetables or strawberries, because they really do a great job at repelling pests and me, because what a smell, what a stench. Vampires, beware. Garlic's coming at you. It's really fun. It's quite potent. So if you're not a big smell person, then, don't hang out with it too long. But once it starts growing roots, it's time to just plop it in the soil and watch it take care of a lot of really annoying pests, including nosy neighbors. Just kidding. I live in a beautiful neighborhood and I have the best neighbors. But for those of you who don't, might I suggest, not tossing those garlic cloves that you got that sprouted from the grocery store that you forgot about, or when you got home you realized they had sprouted, and put them all over your yard to deter all kinds of unwanted guests and pests. Oh, hey, you might notice that I am surrounded by other containers to try for gardening, and they are all filled with this delightful material, easy straw, hay that's been shredded, which is not only great for birds to build nests, because they're definitely going to steal some of this, but for early seedlings or lighter plants that a heavier mulch wouldn't be good for. It'd be putting too much weight on it, not giving it enough room to grow. This is a great alternative. I've used it for these planters that have water basins built in that I have fairly good luck with every year. One thing that I recommend, though, if you're going to get something like this that's going to have a water basin, you're going to understand that sitting water is going to create mosquitoes. And so it's important to either buy those donut-shaped things that are anti-mosquito that you put in and they float in the water basin, or to create a removable hatch or door to seal up the water so that you're not spawning all of your enemies, because you want to garden but you don't want to grow mosquitoes, because gross, and they are the most annoying things ever. Would highly recommend installing a bat house, because bats, although some people are afraid of them, A, are adorable, and B, eat about 2,000 mosquitoes a day as their part of their diet, like normal diet. And bats are like this big and don't bother you, because they're nighttime people who like to party by eating mosquitoes, and then during the day when you're out and about in the garden are nowhere to be seen because they're bats. Nocturnal, awesome, something to consider. But this stuff is great. I got it for like $13. It's a huge container and it spreads really well. In fact, I'm going to move the camera so you can see where else I have used it. After I've planted bulbs and corms and seedlings, or actually just seeds, into what will become a perennial garden that right now gets like a little bit of sun, but most of the time it's fairly shaded. And I put some seeds in there, but I didn't want them just kind of hanging out, and I wasn't going to put the heavy mulch on it, because if I put the heavy mulch on it, there's not really a great chance of the seedlings popping up through it. because it's heavier. The heavy mulch will come later on once these plants are well established. But for now, this easy straw, which is just like, you know, chopped up hay, is wonderful. And the seeds have a chance because they're getting airflow. They're protected from, birds and other things. Chippy the chipmunk, who lives in my yard, and his friends, his associates, and our puppy Marmalade, who loves to dig and loves to garden. And anywhere that I have been gardening, Marmalade will surely discover and try to garden herself. So this straw has been a really nice lifesaver for the puppy alone, but also for all of Marm's friends that live in nature, because we know how much they love to eat seeds. And if you're throwing seeds or planting seeds, especially the ones that you don't plant too deep, it's too easy of a smorgasbord for these little guys. So really wonderful. I'm about to take this stuff now that I've finished those and go to the flower beds that are around the raised beds that you saw in a previous segment. And I will be adding this because it's so easy. It's so frugal, aka cheap and wonderful, and a no-brainer. Easy to use, doesn't bother me, and it's okay. I know birds are going to take some of it for their nests. Whatever. Circle of life, sharing is caring. Couldn't be easier and lighter and so helpful. You know who else hates this material? We'll go back over here and I'll point it out. So these guys, I have some of them on the ground. I have some of them up on this platform. And I know that there are tons of slugs in this yard. I discovered it when we moved in back in the fall. And I was taking out a friend to use the restroom. And there are all these black slugs. And I was like, uh-oh, it's going to be an issue, which would be for a new episode for me to help you with pests. But one thing, they don't like this material because it gets stuck to them because they're slimy little slime balls. So really good at keeping away slugs, really good at allowing seeds to have a chance to grow. And your seedlings, your started plants that are really babies, it's very light, but it does a really good job of protecting them. I highly recommend it. Easy straw. And it has, how much is here? Well, I don't know math, but this is a huge amount. I look so small now compared to this giant bag. 2.5 cubic feet. So for those of you who are really good at math, which I just don't care for, it covers up to 600 square feet. It's a great investment. It's cheap and it's easier and not as backbreaking as getting a pile of mulch dropped off in your driveway if you're just starting a garden and you're using plants that are young. If you have an already established garden and obviously you're going to remulch it every year, then yes, get the good kind, the big, heavy kind, which will do great things for your garden. But in the meantime, Easy Straw is where it's at. And no, I'm not sponsored by them, but if they want to give me a call and set something up, I am totally all ears. So I'm super easily just going to take some of the Easy Straw I just talked about, and in my started tomato plants, they're not going to stay here forever. They're still little babies. I'm going to put some in just to give it some safety, keep it cooler, and allow the babies to get stronger without having to be afraid of pests. I'm clearly going to have to sweep up in a minute or let the wind take care of it. That's not a big deal. But a little goes a really long way. And now I don't have to worry as much about things getting in there wanting the dirt or trying to eat the plants. It'll be a really good deterrent for Chippy or squirrel, but insects are the biggest problem that I have encountered in gardening. And I know there are all these things like if you sprinkle cinnamon or cayenne pepper or put mint around or whatever, it's supposed to work, but I haven't found that it really does as much as I would like it to. So this is something that I know will definitely work. Super affordable, super easy to do. and it'll really, really help your little friends keep their moisture, keep pests away, and gives them the best shot that they have at growing and being able to produce delicious, delicious tomatoes or beets or cucumbers or whatever. I'm going to now take the big bale that I had showed you a moment ago and now go cover the flower beds because not only are there the ones that I grew from seeds that are like, getting a little bit bigger, I also added brand new seeds that are going to take some time and need some help. And I'm not ready to do the big mulch because they're not established yet. So you're going to come with me on this really beautifully hot day, and it's going to be great. And before I forget, this stuff is also great for pumpkins and melons and things that tend to be heavier and usually on the ground, and you don't want them to rot by sitting on the ground and getting wet and everything. I know some people say they use newspapers, but if it rains, the newspaper then becomes wet. Like that's what you would put as an alternative to cardboard on the bottom of a raised bed or what have you. So this stuff is great because it's straw and because it's so finely chopped up. It'll protect your plant and it's not going to retain the rain moisture to then just sit and rot with the pumpkin or whatever. That's going to break your heart later if that happens. So just another reason why this stuff is so good, so easy to work with, and so affordable. Thank you for meeting me down here. I wanted to show you some little tips when you start to finally have something on a vine, whether it's a cucumber or a pumpkin or a melon or what have you. It's important to protect it and to keep it happy. So with this delightful future pumpkin on the ground next to me, I'm going to do a couple of things. First things first, I'm going to take that shredded hay that I'm obsessed with, and I'm going to gently put it underneath it. This will do a couple things. For one, it's going to deter stupid slugs. Yeah, you heard that right. I said that. Slugs, come at me. If you're watching my show, they'll like and subscribe. Just kidding, slugs are annoying. So first things first, put that around it and make sure that there's enough so that slugs, which are your number one enemy when it comes to this type of thing, don't make it to the actual fruit. And of course, the fruit's going to keep growing. And as that happens, you're going to just keep adding more straw underneath it. You want to be very careful when handling your fruit on your vine. You don't want to be too strong and accidentally snap it off because that's going to make you super sad. So I just very gingerly stuck it underneath the fruit, the future pumpkin, without disturbing it. The second thing you're going to want to do, if you have bags like this happened to have like a silk pillowcase in it, but you can get these, or you get these at the dollar store, Amazon, whatever, but also when you get jewelry or give gifts or something. I'm now going to put this very carefully around the pumpkin. The pumpkin's going to get bigger than this, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. So that will have to get changed out. But for now, I'm going to give it a little added blanket very carefully underneath without hurting the pumpkin. And then I'm going to pull the drawstrings just like that. So now my little guy is safe in that little mesh bag, little jewelry bag thing, and on straw, which again, as it grows, I will continue to add straw underneath it, and I will eventually put bigger things on it than that little, that was a pillowcase bag, so it's bigger than the normal jewelry ones, but you could totally start with the jewelry ones, understanding that it's going to grow out of it and you're going to have to update it. But man, gorgeous day for gardening. Hope those tips help you in your garden. So as I am down here, harvesting things, I don't know if you can hear that or see that, but I'm surrounded by bees, but the bees are leaving me alone because we have this beautiful relationship in which I grow things with lots of flowers and they help me out by pollinating all of the different things for me. And yes, I did harvest and I do have backup flowers that are in the freezer should something happen and all the pollinators disappear from my yard. But we're sitting pretty. because of all of the flowers that are growing on the vegetable plants, but then all of the additional flowers just all around it, attracting and bringing in so many pollinators, including a gorgeous butterfly yesterday, which I'll share that video of. But when you're gardening, you're going to be surrounded by different insects. And the best part about being a gardener is that if you show no fear, they won't have fear for you either. And they'll continue pollinating. Like, I was picking a cucumber next to a bee and it didn't bother me because it knew that I'm not there to bother it. In fact, I'm providing a lot for it. And of course, take that with a grain of salt, because if you have an allergy to bee stings, let's not be crazy, okay? Safety first. But yeah, don't panic. If you panic and be a spaz, then nature's gonna reflect that and bounce it back. So be safe out there, but have fun, because it's awesome. And nature's amazing. And you're amazing. Just don't forget it. Hey, didn't see you there. Yeah, I'm just out in the flower garden, adding some of this to try to keep the seeds safe without it losing moisture, making it so pests don't want to go near it. You clearly don't want to do this on a really windy day. I mean, maybe you don't. Or maybe you do. I don't know. It's your call. But I highly suggest not doing it on a windy day, because you'll end up eating most of it. And turns out it doesn't really taste that good. So, um, but I love it. It's such a great alternative. It's so easy. So now you're just gonna watch me do this. You can sit in silence if you want. So great, even for my peonies that are just sprouting, that won't blossom this year, but I anticipate next year is going to be incredible. But they still have little sprouts, and I don't want to knock them over with mulch. I want them to do whatever they can, as much as they can for the season, so that they can save energy, get strong, survive the winter, and then hopefully bloom for the first time next year, which will be incredible. But this stuff is super easy, really light, and makes such a difference. And economically, you're not breaking the bank. And this is something you can definitely have kids help you with, because it's basically like, well, I mean, it's absolutely shredded hay. Um, but it feels really soft and it's not dirty. So for anybody who has like texture issues, you're not going to get this like stuck. You have to go wash your hands immediately. It's already off my hands. So, you know, you do as much as you can in preparation, because it's not just this season that you're working on. You're trying to build and establish a great foundation for a garden. And this is just one of the many ways to help you do it. Oh, hello, friends. You've caught me on this absolutely brutally hot day. And when I came out to the garden, much to my chagrin, I had seen that it had been visited by Chippy the Chipmunk. Super clever name. Feel free to steal it. It's original. So I have some what's finally known as deer netting. This is doubled up, by the way. And I'm going to cut it up and wrap some of the planters, especially the orange planters that have the water basins. For whatever reason, that could be a clue, by the way. Chippy really loves to go in there and dig next to plants. He's not destroying plants or eating anything yet. I suspect that he's thirsty, and even though I have things of water around the garden, he's not privy to it yet, I guess. So I need to do that, because if he's going after the root system to get, moisture, refreshed, that means he's going to be killing the plants from underneath. And I don't think he means to, or she, but not on my watch. So you're going to watch me probably in a time lapse wrap some of these bad boys. I've already wrapped a bunch. Then I took a break because it is too hot in the sun. So if you're going to do gardening stuff, please do it first thing in the morning or after the sun's gone down. Or if you have one of those umbrella hats, parasols, whatever, just to block it because it's really, really brutal. And don't forget to hydrate and to have a good time. Are we gonna help me? Just a helpful good girl. Good girl. We used some of this to stitch it up a little bit. I don't want to give any window of opportunity to our little chippy friends or squirrel friends or whoever else comes popping and locking. So I'm just going to use this like thread. Stitch them in. It smells so good. And that netting, which almost looks invisible on video, should be all it takes for now. You want to be able to allow the plants to grow and have free movement, but you also don't want birds or chipmunks or squirrels or whoever to gain access. So I just use a little bit of the deer netting, a little bit of the garden wire, and voila, it'll make a significant difference. And because it's fairly see-through, it's not like it's going to become this hideous thing that is going to ruin your garden. So it's fashion, baby. Look it up. Flash protection for your garden. So I'm at my garden and I notice there's been a horrible, horrible incident. Bum, bum, bum. Somebody has been eating away at this dahlia, which, by the way, came out stunning anyway. However, I do not want somebody eating all of my plants. And for some reason, it ate the one, but not the other. Not that I'm complaining, but it's being very picky. So, one thing that I have found that actually really works well is to use cold pressed neem oil. I know it sounds like I've made it up. I did not. And you use a little combination of that, some dish soap, and some water in one of these bad boys. You pump it up and you spray it. You do not want to spray it when the sun is out because that will burn the leaves. So you do it either after dusk, when the sun's gone down, or you do it first thing in the morning before the sun has come up. I suggest doing it at night. And for some reason, whenever I do it, it ends up raining, so then I have to do it again. But if that happens, not a problem, just spray more of it. And I would spray almost everything, vegetables, flowers. The only thing I would not spray are the blossoms for the vegetables and fruit that you're trying to grow. Don't spray inside of it because I feel like it would coat the pollen and maybe make it, unusable. So don't do that. Don't do that. But definitely spray everything else, including the actual vegetables, the squash, the pumpkins, the tomatoes. Clearly, when you're going to go eat it, you're going to wash them off anyway. But this stuff works really well. And I have found that the pests that like to eat leaves and destroy delicious vegetables and fruit. Hate it. You can find it for super cheap. I got it in the concentrated, so I just use a little bit. A little goes a long way. In this other thing that I got, which is like a super cheap spray bottle from the internet machine. But definitely try it out. And again, do not apply it in the sun. Wait for it to be dark. Pretend you're cat burgling your own garden, just so you don't burn your leaves. So, however, you're going to try to protect your garden, whether it be netting or adding more garlic, or using cold pressed neem, or using shredded straw, or whatever. I hope that your pests stay away and/or meet a delicious, untimely death. And I hope your garden blossoms. And I cannot wait to see and hear all about your successes in the garden. Share some tips and have the best time. And don't forget to hydrate if you're outside because it is absolutely gross out. Thank you so much for joining me on Sam Explains the World with your host, Samantha Bremenkamp, on this pest-filled edition. I hope you learned some things. Hope your garden's blossoming. Hope the pests go away. And I can't wait to catch you next Friday at 8 p.m. on BCTV for an all-new episode of Sam Explains the World. Happy gardening, friends.